Hi, everybody. This is Steve, and I am getting ready to get started here with our orientation session number 2 for Spanish for Educators, Guatemala trip, 2019 cohort. And I'm just going to hang tight just for a minute or two and give people an opportunity to get connected. This is also a chance to remind you that this is something that you can view live or recorded. So you should have the link if you decide to view it recorded. And other than that, we are going to be having a Q&A throughout the session, but especially at the end. So in fact, why don't I go ahead and do that? I'll put up the slideshow that has the contact information. Oops. Okay. Let me try this again. Screen share. There we go. Okay. So, reload. Huh. Well, that is strange. Let me try this again. Sometimes there's always going to be a little bit of technical difficulties. As I told my students, that's where perseverance comes in. Okay, let's try this again. Worst comes to worst, I'll just zoom in on the actual slides instead of going to presentation mode, so it's not a huge thing. There we go. Okay. So, first of all, please jot down this phone number. Put it in your phone if you have your phone available. And in fact, I'm curious to know who's out there live and in person. Ian, Nate, Julie, Angela, Justin, Paige, Maria, talking to you, and everybody else for that factor, Sarah. I don't have a full list, but so anyways, please send me a quick text and let me know that you're out there. Sometimes this technology thing can be a little isolating, and so it'll be helpful for me to know who the audience is live and in person, if nothing else, just out of curiosity. So please send me a text and let me know who is out there. But if there is nobody out there currently, Casey, then that's okay, and we won't have a Q&A session, but you'll be able to view this recorded. So that's totally fine if... Oh, I just got my first one. Okay, Paige. Good to know that you're out there, Paige. Hope everything's going well in Loveland. Here in Durango, Colorado, it's a beautiful day. It was in the low 70s today. Might have even been a little bit warmer, I imagine, in Loveland. Hi, Laura. Good to hear from you. Hope everything's going well. I think Laura's also in Loveland or maybe Berthoud. As a reminder for those people that aren't part of the Thompson School District, there was a recorded orientation number 1 session that is available in the Google Share folder, which I'll get into in a little bit as well. Angela and Ian and Julie, good to hear from you guys, representing California, all the way up in Fremont. Glad to be able to have you guys along. Danielle, good to hear from you as well. Yeah, I really have a great feeling about this cohort. I think it's going to be a really great experience for everybody, myself included. Ian, good to hear from you, man. Hope everything's going well. Looking forward to being back. And one great thing about this cohort is that we have a few returners, a few veterans, if you will, whether that be from the likes of Ian or Julie, or we also have Nate Donovan, who I don't know if Nate's joining us right now, but Nate is also up in northern Colorado. So anyways, that's going to be really great to be able to have some returners as well as some people that are going to be able to experience Guatemala for the first time. Orientation number 1. This is a really, really vital part of the preparation process. Even if you are one of those returners, one of those veterans, I'd recommend that you take a look at it. It's about an hour-long YouTube video. I've got the link on the Google folder. Here's some of the items that we went over on orientation number 1. So whether we're talking about the introductions to Spanish4Educators, Guatemala, and this year's cohort, information about grad credits. We are offering grad credits this year. A few of you have already let me know that you're interested in that. Okay, Julie, you're in La Casa de Angela. All right, awesome. Some information about safety and health while in Guatemala. We're going to talk about it a little bit here as well, but culture shock and Vygotsky zone of proximal development. Some general frequently asked questions. We talked about the calendar. We talked a little bit about school shadowing, which will continue that conversation tonight, as well as some reading and viewing recommendations, which are something that if you are doing the graduate credits, which are highly recommended, especially if you are looking for recertification or lane changes on the salary, some recommendations that you will be engaging in on the grad course. And then we did some Q&A. So I was fortunate enough to be able to do that session this year with the Thompson School District out of Loveland live. And it's also recorded and available for everybody out there that is not in Loveland. So here's our agenda for orientation number 2. We're going to do some nuts and bolts announcements. We're going to talk a little bit more about culture shock. We're going to go into some more resources, whether that be books, social media, lesson plans. We are going to be talking about our family homestay groups. We have some family information for you, as well as some information about our partner school, which is called El Hato. So we have some information about who's going to be your collaborating teacher, and then some Q&A. You may also, in addition to the text, you may also send any questions that you have to my email. I will not get a chance during the session to be able to check my email, with the exception of at the conclusion of our session. So if you need any immediate feedback that is not within the agenda or within the agenda of our first orientation session, then please send that over via text, or you can email that to me. I believe you should have access to this Google shared folder. There is a ton of resources. If you're, awake at night because you're so excited to get down to Guatemala and you want to do something to be able to just prepare yourselves, there's plenty of stuff in here, whether that be a packing list, the itinerary for some of our excursions, whether that be Tikal, a link to our orientation number 1, a discussion platform for our book that hopefully you have received. You should have received a care package that included the Rigoberto Menchú book, as well as a t-shirt and a water bottle sticker. So there's a platform, as you see on there, that is to be able to put in some notices and wonderings about the book, some information that I already emailed out where you can put in some information about yourself, to be able to try to build some collegiality. Oh, nice. Just got a picture from our California contingent. Nice. Awesome. Okay, so just check that out. And if you don't have access to it, or if you don't know how to find it, then by all means, send me a quick email and I'll make sure to get you access for that. Okay, going into some announcements and some nuts and bolts. First of all, Blanca, who is the wonderful coordinator of all logistics, and she's our site-based coordinator based out of Guatemala, has requested that we need to know who is signing up for Tikal by this Sunday, May 5th. I would highly recommend that you take advantage of this great opportunity to see such an amazing archaeological site, and it's also a beautiful site in the middle of the rainforest. There's monkeys, and I've never seen a jaguar, but there's also jaguars in the area, and just all sorts of different wildlife, and every single shade of green that you can imagine. When you go on top of the tallest pyramid, you look out over the rainforest canopy, and it's just really an unforgettable experience. So Blanca is going to be leading our group to Tikal at the conclusion of the trip. So it would require that you change your return to the United States to the next Tuesday instead of Saturday. It does involve an extra cost. It includes some components that are the reason for that, including your flying there, as opposed to having to be stuck in a van for 10 or 12 hours. And also hotel and some of the meals and your tours and stuff like that. So, but we do need to know our roster on that by this Sunday. You don't need to pay by then. I'll just add it onto your invoice, but we need to know who's going, and so Blanca can start the process of getting plane tickets and stuff like that. And if you already have signed up for the Tikal trip, we need to get your passport number and expiration date, because in order to get the plane ticket, we need to get that over. That's one thing that they require when getting even a domestic flight for international travelers. So that's one of the things, is to be able to get the hotel room, plane ticket, all the logistics. Blanca's working on that, so we need to get a heads up on that. So really recommend it. It's a great trip. Let me know if you have questions. Here's an itinerary just to give you a sense of what you'd be doing. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but this presentation is available. The slide deck is available in the share folder. So please check it out if you're interested in and also the Tikal itinerary is also in a separate document there. All right, I'm fortunate enough to already be a few of yours Facebook friends, and I know there are quite a few of you that have already gone onto the Spanish4Educators Facebook page and liked the page, so thank you to those people. If you haven't, please do. It would be great if you could check out the things that are going on with Spanish4Educators. I also put I just did a quick screenshot of the top part of my personal Facebook page. So I'd love to be a friend of yours on Facebook on my personal page as well. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Oh, Ian, we'll talk about your question here in a little bit. Graduate credits. Still accepting enrollment for graduate credits. It's $375 for 3 credits, but which for those of you that have recently gone through any type of graduate credits, you know that that's a pretty good deal, especially considering the fact that in many districts that doesn't lead towards salary advancement. So I would really recommend that. I am the instructor of record on the graduate credits, so it really makes things a lot more streamlined when you have the instructor of record that's in Guatemala with you and is able to have that line of communication really well available. So I would really hope that you guys would take advantage of that opportunity. Some of you, that's not, what you need, which I totally get it, but it's also a great learning opportunity. In addition to the Rigoberto Menchú text, there are a couple of additional texts that get into another layer of complexity as far as the history and culture of Guatemala, as well as the impact of U.S. involvement, especially during the Cold War, with Guatemala's history and indigenous struggles in Guatemala. So that's also a great opportunity to be able to get into a little bit more depth into some of those really important issues. So, okay. If you are the type of person that does not want to be in pictures and that sort of stuff, then please send that to me. It's not a big deal, but we try to make the Facebook page as well as the website as current as possible. So we will put up different pictures that we're taking along the way, and we try to share pictures with each other. I have a little folder that I'll create once we get down there in our share folder where you can dump photos so we can all kind of have those for each other. So I'll make sure when we do that there's a little, if there is anybody out there that does not want to be a part of that, then I'll make sure to make that public as well. So I totally get it, but at the same time, please let me know. All right, culture shock. And I'm not sure, for me, Ian, or maybe somebody can tell me on a text here, can you see the graph? Because like what I see on my computer is there's like a little image, a little kind of graphic in the corner that's preventing you from seeing that graph. But maybe that's just because I'm the one that's like publishing it. But there's this graph here that gets into the cycle of culture shock. Julie, you can see it, yes? Or yes, there's a little graphic there. Oh, you can see it. Perfect. Thanks, Angela and Julie. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky because we're only going to be down in Guatemala for 2 weeks. And so this study that took place by the Consortium for International Education and Multicultural Studies, it was mainly looking at, for example, students that are down there for somewhere out of their culture for an entire semester. Oh, okay. Angela's lying. All right, well, let me see. I'll just go to this, and then you guys should be able to see it. Well, even that's not great. Well, let me just move it. There we go. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, perfect. So this graphic is more for people that are going to be in a country that's out of their culture for an extended period of time. So I would imagine that a good percentage of you guys, are going to be in the honeymoon phase for potentially the whole time. So you won't get a chance to experience this element. You probably will. It's not necessarily a linear thing. There will be times where you might have a day where you wake up and you just feel that your Spanish is just totally, not there anymore. And you're just not, you're having a hard time with your personal interactions and with your, whether it be with your host family or with your Spanish teacher, whatever the case may be. So, but with that said, I think that there will be a good percentage of your trip that'll probably be the honeymoon. So I just wanted to, and this slide deck has the study, and it has a little bit of information on additional information on culture shock. Let me just make sure that the link is still live, because sometimes, yes, perfect. Sometimes those links get bad. All right, now what do I do? Okay. All right. So we did talk about culture shock and in the context of Vygotsky's zone of proximal development last time. So if you didn't get a chance to see that session, I would highly recommend that you check it out, because that is, as we're reflecting throughout the trip, that is an element that we're going to be discussing. And that's going to be Angela's in crisis already. That's funny, Ian. So when we do have if you look at the calendar, there's a group reflection that's going to be taking place on the first Thursday that we're there. And that's going to be kind of one of our grounding points, is Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. So I would recommend to check out that first orientation session if you haven't already. I know a lot of you guys, if not probably all of you, are familiar with ZPD, but the way that we discussed it last time really put it into the context of culture shock and ZPD. So it's a little bit beyond what you might encounter in a teacher prep program, for example. Okay, so I do have a lesson plan that I've developed, and I just want to give a disclaimer here that it does have primary sources, which is great, in social studies. That's my background, social studies. Everybody's always saying how we need to get primary sources in the hands of kids, but it's also really intense. There are, well, let's just say that the title of the primary source document is How to Assassinate Somebody. So it has different methods of how to assassinate people, because that's what the CIA was trying to help the counter-revolutionaries with during the time of the beginnings of Guatemala's civil conflict. And so it also depends on your audience of kids. I had 8th grade, sometimes 7th grade. But even with that, I had to be very, very careful as far as how I introduced the materials and my communication with parents, especially in this day and age with some of the violence and some of the school violence that we're seeing. So that's my disclaimer. But I think that it's really important to be aware, even if you just take a look at some of the materials, as far as some of the interactions that were happening between our CIA here in the United States and, like I said, the Guatemalan counter-revolutionaries. So this topic is bridged quite a bit in somewhat in Rigoberta's book, but also in another one of the texts that you would encounter in the graduate course. Those California folk are pretty funny. I'm getting these random texts. So anyways, that's a resource for you. Here's another resource for you. My cousin, Kershawn Olson, she is an anthropologist. She's currently based out of a university in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But she did her PhD research at UC Berkeley, and her PhD research was based on the effect of civil conflict on children, specifically in Guatemala. So let me just make sure that this text is still available. No. So anyways, if you are interested in checking out this research, it does have an abstract that kind of gets to the point, but it is like a PhD research. So as those of you know, it's pretty dense, but it's also really interesting as far as the topic, which is the effect of civil conflict on children. So I would recommend it, but like the title of the slide says, with all of the time that we have, so I'm also cognizant of the fact that we are educators, and educators of all people do not have a lot of time. And when we do have time, we're trying to recover from our job. So anyways, I just wanted to at least put that on your radar. Okay, moving on to our family homestay groups. So as Blanca and I went through this process, we tried to consider a few things as far as our placement of where you would be living based on the families that we collaborate with. All of the families that we collaborate with, we have used before. We consider them a part of our family and as a part of our organization. And I'm really strongly opinionated that I think they're going to really heighten your cultural experience and just your overall experience. And I hope you end up having building a lifelong friendship, whether that be with your Guatemalan family, but also hopefully with the roommate. I'm sorry, it's not a roommate situation. You are in your own room, but hopefully also with your housemate that you have. Because in many instances, you're going to have at least one housemate that is not from your district, that you may have not met before, and that you may have some interests that you can discover as we go through this journey together that will be really interesting to be able to build some of those connections. So those are kind of the what we did, how we considered where you'd be staying. A few things to consider. Like we talked about in our first orientation session, Guatemala is a developing country. There's going to be a wide range of kind of the amenities of the house. We do have one host, senora, that she's definitely on the upper crust of society, while we do have other senoras and partner families that are more typical of what you would see in Guatemala. Antigua is automatically, being in Antigua, unless you've kind of been born into your house or your family's been there forever, which is a lot of times the case. Real estate in in Antigua is very much more expensive than it is in everywhere else in Guatemala. So, anyways, here's a few considerations that I just wanted to put out there. Some of which is going to be the case even if you are in Hilda's house, which is that there are no screens on the windows. So even if you're in a house that is not typical of Guatemala and that has probably some more luxuries than a typical Guatemalan house would have, you still might have the occasional bug that'll fly into your room. That if that's something that that is bothering you, then I'd think about possibly bringing like one of those mosquito nets that you can get at REI that you can kind of put over yourself when you go to bed. Those types of things, which is actually, I believe, on the packing list that's on the group share folder. But typically, it's comfortable. Most homes, if they do have internet, even then, it's not going to be super strong. It would probably be enough to be able to do some emailing and some of the basic internet things, but you're not going to be able to necessarily do FaceTime, video apps, different things like that. There are some internet cafes that you can go to if you need to do that. And there are also our collaborating Spanish school has a stronger internet connection that you can probably do some of that stuff. But I think now that I think about it, I think all the houses do have internet, but they're just not that strong. So those are just a few things I wanted to bring to your attention. It says no more than 2 adults per bedroom, but we were able to make it happen where everybody got their own room. So you can thank Blanca and me to a lesser degree, but especially Blanca for that. We try to make it so there's not going to be more than 4 people in a bathroom. So that's what we're shooting for. And then a couple of details as far as the meals, where the main one that I like to focus on is that at least one member of the family will sit at the table for conversation at each meal. And I have had to work with the families on that because in some instances, it's kind of like this service thing where we're going to serve you the meal and then we're going to sit back and wait for you to be done. And Blanca and I have really been emphasizing that, no, this is a critical part of the experience, is to be able to learn about the culture, to be able to sit with the families and practice your Spanish in a safe environment. And so that's something that we'd really try to emphasize with the families, but it is kind of a respect thing. But It's a great opportunity to speak Spanish, and that is one item that I wanted to also bring up, is that during the meals, that is a goal that we're all going to be shooting for, is to be able to speak Spanish during all of your meals. Even if you've got, three or four people from our group sitting there with one host mother, then please still respect the fact that that host mother doesn't know any English and speaks Spanish, and also for the sake of practicing your Spanish. So that's a goal that I want us all to be thinking about. Oh, so as far as our family descriptions, you're welcome, Julie. I was going to put Julie and Ian together, by the way. That was my one thing that I was thinking about, because Ian told me some crazy rumor that you two are like brother and sister. So that was my one thing that I was thinking that I could get away with, but I was able to work it out. So it didn't work out like that. Okay, so here is this document, which is linked on the orientation number 2. This slide deck has our groupings. And the really cool thing about this also is that it has some pictures and some information about the families that you're staying with. So Jen and Dee, for example, you're staying with Christina. And so there's some information about Christina and her family here, as far as, titles and how old they are approximately. On some of it we had to kind of guess. And then that question mark down there, Jen and Dee, are because there's also a parakeet, the family bird. And then some information is, some little pictures of the house and stuff like that. And then Maria and Laura. Sorry, Maria. I think I accidentally put an L there instead of an I. And then Hilda. We've got a good group staying with our California contingent, and Nate and Justin. I am staying with Amparo, with my wife Crystal and my daughter Iris. We also have a 3-year-old, Talise, that originally we were going to take along, but we made the decision to let Talise spend some time with her grandparents, and mainly so that Crystal could work on her Spanish. So my wife and daughter, who is 6, are going to be joining us there. So I'm really excited about that. So anyways, this document goes into some of that information. You can click through right here on slide number 17 for the orientation number 2 video. Okay. Our partner school. Personally, my favorite part of the program. We've really built an incredible relationship with El Hato. Pati Estacoy, who is the principal there, and the rest of the staff and community are just, it's a really special place. And I'm really excited I think this is going to be we've worked with them every year. So it's going to be, is this cohort 6? I think it's going to be our 6th straight year with El Hato. So here's a picture a few years ago of myself and a few of the group from that year with one of the classes from El Hato. It's a public elementary school, approximately 275 kids. Patricia, it says Toledo, but her name on Facebook is Estacoy, so I don't know. But anyways, as you can see from the picture, this is a community that still has a lot of indigenous traditions. You can see some of the dresses and the shirts that some of the girls are wearing, especially. But it's a really neat, kind of interesting mixture of, then next to that girl, you'll probably have some kid that's wearing like an Avengers t-shirt or something. So it's kind of interesting to notice those types of things. And so we're there 4 different times throughout the trip. Typically, it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We talked about it a little bit as far as orientation number 1, as far as the approach to take from from your first visit through the fourth visit, but just to kind of restate it because I think it's important, is that first time that we get there is basically to just mimic the students and just whatever the teacher is asking the students to do, to just kind of take a seat and do whatever it is that they're doing. But then as you go through the experience, and especially as you get to the second week on that third and fourth time, that's where we've also talked with Pati and the teachers about the possibility of you getting up there and co-leading a lesson or actually leading a lesson. And so we really like to have it be a collaborative experience where the Guatemalan educators have a lot of experience and expertise to be able to share, and especially due to culture, there may be differences. For example, a lot of the teachers, all of the teachers really, they don't teach the same grade every year. Every single year, they will switch grades, where Pati has decided that based on and it's not as far as staying with the same kids throughout their entire 5 or 6 or 7 years that they're there, but it's really taking a look at her staff and taking a look at the kids that are in that class. It's a 1 to 2 track school. So especially in first and second grade, there may be 2 sections, but other than that, there's really only 1 section. So in third and fourth and fifth grade, you may have 30 to 50 kids in that one room. So she takes a look at her staff as far as who might be able to deal with a larger class size, or taking a look at the class as far as the class that might have some different behavior issues or what have you, academic needs. And we'll kind of reshuffle the deck every year as far as which grade that her staff will be teaching. So it's a really interesting approach, and I respect what they do every year and day with the resources that they have, which are limited. But I'm also grateful and proud that because of our collaboration, we've been able to bring a lot of resources to their school, in-kind resources, whether that be, let me just actually go to that. Yeah, here it is. Some of these items, which you'll see, anything from whiteboard markers to USB chips to ink cartridges, writing utensils, materials for snack time, rubber gloves for cleaning the bathrooms, staples, paintbrushes, glue, Montessori books in Spanish, or I'm sorry, Montessori counting materials and storybooks in Spanish. So these are items that, as part of your tuition, there's already an amount that is dedicated to an in-kind donation in your name. Part of it goes to the teacher that you're collaborating with directly, and part of it goes to Pati and Elvira, the administrative team. And Elvira is also the 4th grade teacher, by the way. I think you're with Elvira. So if you have any of these items, or if you have room in your suitcase, I know nowadays even United is asking for like 30 to 40 bucks just to be able to check a bag. So that's kind of ridiculous. But if you do have any room in your suitcase, or as Ian noticed last year, and Ian was just so generous with this last year, there are stores in Guatemala where you can go out and get some of this stuff if you so choose. So for example, instead of bringing like a ream of paper, it would make a lot more sense, because of the size and the weight of a ream of paper, to go to the store that we'll go through where to get stuff when we do our on the ground orientation, is just to get it there. And that also supports the local economy. So, but the USB memory storage and the Canon printer cartridges, those are things that it's better to be able to get them here. And so, for example, with those in-kind donations that are in your name, we're going to take that amount of money, and we're going to be getting a lot of that kind of stuff for the school here in the United States, because it actually is more expensive once we go to Guatemala. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out there, that if you're and there's a document on the share folder that kind of have some of these common items of need. and for you to kind of sign up for if you're planning on bringing any of that stuff. And the purpose for that is that if somebody is interested in bringing something, but they're like, oh, we already have 3 people on our cohort that have already said that they were going to bring colored pencils or storybooks in Spanish or whatever the case may be. So that's what the purpose of that document is. Okay, so here is it says on here that we're going to try to match elementary grades with a similar grade. So for example, I forget who the second grade teacher is that we have, but I put that second grade teacher with our second grade class. My daughter Iris, who is 6, I put Iris and Crystal with I think it's called kindergarten there, even though my daughter is in first grade, but 6-year-olds, so that she would be able to have similar aged kids to be in class with. But there's also, I know we have like Paige, who's like a high school science teacher, I think, and a couple of other people that are middle school and high school teachers. It wasn't necessarily possible because this is an elementary school. So yeah, just be flexible and be willing to take risks. And I'm sure it'll work out positively, even if it's not within your comfort zone. Because remember, according to Vygotsky, that's where you can really grow. But if you do get in your danger zone, then please, by all means, let me know. And myself, as well as Casey, as well as most likely Tiffany, still not positive on Tiffany yet, based on our cohort size, but there will be people there that will be floating if you need a translation or something like that, whether it be with your teacher or with one of the students in the class. But if you get into your danger zone, then just let one of us know, or you can just take a little bit of a breather. So here we go as far as your collaborating teacher. So this is something that, again, this slide deck is available on the share folder. But I just wanted to point out a couple of really interesting items. Because of the nature of the school, and I'm sure some of you principals, we have a few principals that are going to be joining us. You probably, when you do your master schedule and things like that, you get the fact that you may have like a 4th grade class that's higher, and then a 3rd grade class that's super low, just because of your registrations that you get. But check out Justin's class. Elvira in 4th grade has 38 kids. Equally, Nate, where's Nate? Oh, it's not, I can just close this. Oh, perfect, great. I should have done that a long time ago. And then we've got Nate here, who is with Carlos in 3rd grade, who has 40 kids in that class. But then meanwhile, we've got Sarah, who's with Sylvia, 17 kids. We've got 18 and a couple 19s with Maria, D, and Jen. So it just really fluctuates. And then we've got, this is new actually, Luisa. When she filled out her form this time, she said all grades. So I think before she was actually a classroom teacher. So I'm not sure what that's all about. But I think that Danielle and Laura, you guys are going to be actually kind of like in kind of an intervention role. So I'm excited to see what that's going to entail. But as you can also see, Angela, Ian, Danielle, and Laura, you guys have partners from our cohort. I talked to Blanca about that because we only had 10 Guatemalan teachers that signed up essentially, and there are 13 of us. So I did put Julie with Patti, so that makes 11. But then there are there were 2 more of us than there were of them. So I had Blanca check in with Patti to see if there were 2 additional teachers at El Hato that would be interested in collaborating. So that's kind of a maybe as far as Angela, Ian, and Danielle and Laura. So I'll get back to you guys as far as if that's going to be a firm yes or not. But everybody else, it's pretty firm. Invoice Reminder. You should have received an invoice via Square. If you have not, then please let me know. They are due by Friday, June 21st. So please let me know if you'd like me to resend it. Sometimes it's hard to kind of dig through the inbox to find it, or if you have any questions about that, or if you'd like to add any side trips. So I think we have later on where we're going to talk about some of those side trips. So I know a lot of you guys have already signed up for the lake during the weekend. And then we have a volcano hike, and then I already mentioned Tikal. So, and thank you to those of you that have already paid. Really appreciate it. Okay. Frequently asked questions. What we're going to be going over is I'm at least going to tell you where the packing list is. We'll take a look at it. And then also a couple other things on the share folder, like the map of Antigua, information about Tikal we already did, so we can check that one off, the weekend excursions, and then do a little Q&A. Okay, packing list and map of Antigua. So let me go into my share folder here. So we've got... Okay, so this is what's going to look like for you when you go into the share folder. The packing list. It's got it broken down into essential items, including like obviously your passport, and it needs to be within 30 days of your arrival is not valid. So you need to start the process now as far as renewing it. In case something happens with your passport, to be able to bring a couple extra photographs of your passport photo, as well as some photocopies of your passport that are stored in a different location than your passport. So it gets into some of that stuff. A reusable water bottle, which is really important because you're going to be drinking a lot of bottled water with your family, as well as at the Spanish school. That's in unlimited quantities. And like I mentioned last time, it's even best to be brushing your teeth using the water bottle instead of using the sink because of the quality of the water in Guatemala. So anyways, it just has some essential items, electronics, some optional items. Definitely, I think that this should be actually essential. The mesh or nylon bag to transport your laundry to the laundromat. There is a laundromat that we use that you'll actually get a little coupon for a cup. They measure it by the pounds. And so the Spanish school that we work with has provided a couple of pounds free of laundry. And they do a great job, and it's right across from the Spanish school. And so that's something to also take into consideration as you pack, is that you can do your laundry very easily, like after the first week, or maybe even more often if you'd like. It's like a 24-hour turnaround to be able to reduce the load that you have a little bit on your packing. So even if you're trying to get a carry-on and, maybe you're only allowed a carry-on and you have to pay for a checked item, although I know a lot of you guys probably want to buy some items to be able to bring back as far as some souvenirs and stuff like that. I know I'm planning on getting a king-sized quilt that's made out of huipils, which are like the traditional Mayan kind of tops, like blouses. And so they have these at the kind of the flea market. Essentially, they have these quilts that are made out of like recycled huipils that I saw when I first went to Guatemala, but my wife and I are now like, yes, we definitely want that. So that might play into your consideration as far as what size of luggage you have. But then we've got some recommendations on clothes. As a reminder, Antigua is in pretty high elevation. I want to say like 4,000 feet elevation, and it's in the mountains, so it does get a little bit brisk at times. So and it's also during the rainy season, so they actually consider it to be the winter when we're going to be there. So it's not like you're going into a place that's going to be just like super hot all the time, but it can get that way. So if it's not raining, it can get a little bit humid and hot. So anyways, plan for everything. I don't know if I would plan on a swimsuit. I can't think of a time that you would be necessarily going swimming. So I'm not sure why I put that in there, actually. So I might need to revise that. Oh yeah, sandals. Beware with your sandals because the cobblestone streets there's some inconsistent sidewalks. So don't bring those like really strappy sandals that might break. But if you want to bring one that's kind of like, whether it be Chacos or something like that, then that might work. And then some recommendations on money. There is a map that's available that has, where is it? There we go. So if you're just itching, this is kind of one of those things that if you're like really itching and you can't sleep at night, to be able to kind of do a little exploring. But this is also something that we're going to be going on an orientation tour on day one to be able to go through a lot of this stuff. Okay, Ian just reminded me, thank you, Ian, that the swimsuit is something that if you're signing up for Lake Atitlan, then you should definitely bring a swimsuit, because the lodge that we're staying at is like literally it's on the shore, and there's like a dock that's really fun to jump off of, and they have like blow up boats and like floaties and stuff like that, and it's really fun to be able to go swimming. So yes, if you're signed up for Lake Atitlan, then yes, bring a swimsuit. So anyways, I made this map here that has some of our locations as far as some of our host families that are the stars, and then we've got some of these other markers that have some important landmarks. We're going to go through all of this when we do our orientation tour on day one. But as you can see, here is our meeting point for transportation. And then here are all of our host families. So in the morning, depending on what we've got going on as far as transportation, you're going to be walking, like if you're in Hilda's house, for example, like a block and a half, 2 blocks. Even the farthest, which is actually probably Amparo's house, at my house, it's like 1, 2, 3, or no, 1, 2, 3, like 4 blocks tops, right? And then same thing with our Spanish school is like right here, this red one. So it's all very, very close. But with that said, the roads are cobblestone. So that's something that, and the sidewalks are a little rickety. So it's 2 blocks, yes, but it's not necessarily the 2 blocks that you're used to. Weekend excursions and the volcano hike, real quick. The beach trip is out. We're not doing the beach trip anymore, so I should have taken that out. Sorry about that. Lake Atitlan is leaving on Saturday morning during that weekend that we're there, and getting back on Monday in time to be able to go to your Spanish classes. I think it's $199, and it includes transportation, your boat ride to our lodge, and basic accommodations. The basic accommodations is kind of like a dorm style, but there are opportunities for upgrades. So for the course of 2 nights and transportation, like $199 is really reasonable. And if you wanted to upgrade to be able to have your own private space and stuff like that, then there are kind of a couple limited opportunities to do that. But it's just a really great place to kind of have a moment to just reflect and just decompress, and to really just appreciate what you've already experienced and to get prepared for the final week of what we're going to be going into, and also to have some to make some connections with the cohort. Although the entire cohort won't be there, there's also the opportunity to stay back in Antigua that weekend, and Blanca is going to be staying back in Antigua. And so I know Ian can speak to his experience when he stayed back in Antigua over the weekend, and he got to really connect quite a bit with Blanca and her family, and also do some really neat things that he wouldn't have been able to do had it not been for that weekend. So it's really a win-win. But so I think that you're gonna have a great weekend and experience no matter what. All right, Ian's blowing up here. I got to go into my phone to see what he's saying. Oh, okay. So Ian's saying to bring DEET to the lake, and uh, yeah, I mean, definitely bring DEET to. If you're planning on going to Tikal, I would definitely say yes to the DEET and to the insect repellent and that sort of thing. But the lake, believe it or not, it doesn't have a ton of mosquitoes. It's really fresh and brisk and really great view of all. There's like 3 different volcanoes and mountains that are jutting out of the lake, and but definitely for Tikal. The volcano hike, um, it's something that is also a kind of a bucket list type thing where you can hike on an active volcano. So this is something where, depending on the level of activity, there's I have seen pictures from the Guatemalans as far as when they're actually like hiking by and there's like lava flows that you're like going by, kind of like you might picture in Hawaii. But the times that I've gone, it's not like that. There are some vents that you'll come across that they do this thing where you can like actually roast marshmallows on the vents because they're that hot. Um, but other than that, it's not like you're going to be seeing like lava like right there. Like they only hike up to a certain point, and then the part that has lava, like the top, you'll be able to like look at it, but it's not necessarily going to be something that you'll be really close to. So but I think I want to say it's $35, and that includes we have a guide and then transportation and going up to the saddle that they go to, not to the top, but to like a saddle where you can look at the top. And then they'll give you a marshmallow to roast and stuff like that. And then if you do want to, like Ian can attest to, if you want to hire somebody to be able, so you can take a horse going up there. And of course, Ian texts, tell them about the horses. Um, so yeah, the villagers have horses that they will rent out to you that Ian reminded me of as far as how much that was. I want to say it was like 100 quetzales, which is like $15 or something like that to be able to rent the horse. But yeah, so that's something that you'd have to pay a little bit extra for, but um, it helps support the local economy and that sort of thing. So okay, we have reached the conclusion, and okay, I see a question here from Paige as far as Lake Atitlan. And I'm wondering, Paige, if I described it or if you have any additional specific questions about Lake Atitlan that I haven't really gotten to. Oh, that's a really nice picture of our California contingent. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the camera here. I'm a little bit camera shy, but let me see if I can stop screen sharing. Okay. So while I'm waiting for questions for a little bit, let me go ahead and check my email. If any of you guys had emails, and I'll also wait on if Paige has any additional questions about the lake. But again, guys, I am really excited about July. I think it's going to be a great experience for everybody. Oh, Ian. And yeah, I'm couldn't be happier about the cohort that we have. Really good mixture of educators and geographic representation. For the first time, we have representation from Oregon and Washington. So that's going to be really great. Ian's always saying how I need to shave, but I live in Durango and the people here are called Durangotangs for a reason. So, okay, got a couple questions coming in. What do you recommend for the gifts for the host family? And then also we've got one related to what we do when we're at the lake. So first of all, host family gifts. One of the big areas that all host families have in common is cooking. They're providing the meals for us. So if you don't know what to get, then that's a easy option of something, whether it be maybe like a little rubber scraper thing that has like Loveland or whatever town that you're in, or maybe some like olive oil or something that is representative of where you live um, that might be, or something that they can put on the refrigerator, like a magnet or something, or coffee mug is always a good one that has like your town, something small, but something that maybe is representative of you. I know there's some people out there that maybe like horses. So something that maybe, or like sports, like I was really excited about the Colorado Avalanche yesterday, taking down the Sharks 3-zip to tie it up. So I might get something from Pato that's like for the Avalanche, or I've even gotten stuff there. To be honest, a couple times I've forgotten to get something. And so I'll like go out to the market and get something that through my conversations with the families, I'll kind of pick up on some things that they might need and go out and get that. There's this really yummy banana bread that we're going to be able to try out during our Thursday reflection that all of the families really like. So that's always something that you can get. And then as far as the lake, yeah, you really just hang out and relax there. So it's meant to be a place that, I take that back. It's got a lot of cultural significance too, because there is an optional tour that you can decide to take that it does come with an extra cost, but they take you to like 3 different villages, and each village has a slightly different culture. So they're even represented in some cases by like different languages. So that's the really cool thing about the Mayan indigenous civilization, is that there's still, I want to say there's 25 languages that are still actively spoken, although a couple of those are in danger of becoming extinct. So along the shores of Lake Atitlan, you can go and get a sense of some of the different cultures that are represented by the different villages in some of the different villages. So you can decide to do that, but you can also just decide to relax. There's a really cool patio that has this amazing view of the lake that you can just kind of like grab some cocktails, and you can like they have a tab system where you can like order from the bar or order all of our meals, and then you pay at the end. And so you can get your cocktails, you can get your appetizers, you can get your meals. If you want to go to Panajachel, which is the major city that's along the banks of the lake, you can take a boat into Panajachel, and there's some stuff to do in there. Whether that be like there's some party type stuff, or there's some cultural stuff, or whatever the case may be. But this lodge it's not a part of a village. It's like literally like along the lake, and there's a village like a few hundred meters along one direction, and another village like maybe 400 meters the other direction. But this is kind of its own little thing where most people just kind of hang out and relax. So those are some things that you can do at the lake. Okay. Question coming in as far as going on early morning walks on my own. And I thank you for that question. And I did share a story during the first orientation session of kind of having common sense. And we did have one instance where somebody that was a jogger, a morning jogger, they unfortunately she made two mistakes. Number one is that she ran to the outskirts of town because it was prettier. Which where she ran, yes, it was very pretty. It was kind of there's like this mountain right there, and it was a really nice trail. But it was also like on the outskirts of town where there wasn't a lot of people. And she also decided to like stop and take a picture with her iPhone of something that she saw. I don't know if it was like a bird or something or some flower or whatever. And so she got out that iPhone, that was what she got robbed. She and then they also, and I think she might have even, I don't know if she wore her jewelry or not too, but that's kind of like the common sense. Like, yes, if you want to go on a early morning walk, kind of go towards the city, towards the town. Um, Ideally, you're not going to be bringing your phone or anything of value, jewelry. And I'll show you, Blanca and myself, and if Tiffany goes, we'll show you kind of like some of those tidbits as far as where to go. But like we mentioned the first time around, like it's like any city, even here in the US, like there's parts of Denver that, especially during a certain time, that I wouldn't want to go. So we'll make sure to let you know as far as that goes to keep you safe. Uh-oh. Julie, I just lost some respect in you by saying go Sharks. No, just kidding. It's all part of the nature of competition. And the Sharks they're looking pretty good, but the Avalanche, I'm still pulling for them. I actually have my Avalanche socks on right now to celebrate our victory yesterday. Okay. Vaccinations. The first orientation video had some items as far as the vaccinations. So there are some recommendations that the Centers for Disease Control, based here in the U.S., have. But through some of the orientation, so check out that orientation number 1 for that. But typhoid is the main one that you probably don't have that you should get, is to be able to get typhoid. Some of the optional ones can get a little bit pricey. For example, malaria, especially if you're going to Tikal, malaria is one that I would recommend, but it can get a little pricey. It also, CDC recommends Hep A and Hep B. Hep A and Hep B typically are vaccinations that you probably already have, but you may need a booster on. So check with your physician, let them know you're going to Guatemala. Depending on your insurance, for example, if you have Kaiser Permanente, they typically have like a travel clinic that already knows all that stuff. So I would say to check in with them. But there are no, like, if you get no vaccinations, they're still going to let you in the country. It's not like they're checking your vaccination card or they're not going to let you in. But due to safety, and especially based on what the United States government recommends, I would definitely check the Center for Disease Control as well as your physician. Another question, can we bring home baked goods for our house family? The answer is yes. We already kind of talked about that. So I wouldn't travel with baked goods. So a lot of times, as you guys know, especially those California people know, when you're traveling across borders and you're bringing in different baked goods or fruits or different things like that, that's something that the agriculture people really don't like. So I wouldn't travel from here to there with baked goods necessarily. You might want to check the travel restrictions on that one. But as far as going out to this bakery that we're going to be having our Thursday reflection on, yes, that would be totally fine to pick up a loaf of bread and bring that to your family or something like that. That would be great. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Huh. Okay. Julie is saying that Kaiser is not recommending malaria or typhoid. Ian is saying that he smuggled back some volcanic rock, which is what I would always use for my rewards for students instead of giving them candy, which all of their students or all of their parents are mad about. I just got all these little pebbles that are like small pebbles that are from the volcano, and I brought them. I don't think you're supposed to bring it back, but I, put it in a plastic Ziploc bag and brought it back, and I had all these different rewards. I told the 7th graders, like, this is a volcanic rock. You're getting a piece of volcano. So, okay, Ian says that he's going to do that again to be able to have as a reward. Oh, the California folks are having a lot of fun out there. Okay, Angela's saying, go Warriors. Boo. Boo, Angela. But she's also asking about bringing wine in your suitcase. And honestly, Angela, I do not know the answer to that question. So you're going to have to check with, I would probably check with I think you have your airline ticket. So I'd probably check with your airline or the Department of, I think it's like the Department of State or something, but the U.S. government. But I can check up on that as well, because that would be a good gift, especially for our Northern California folks. Although, to be honest, a lot of the, well, you guys are staying with Hilda. She would appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, but Ian's saying it's not for the house mother, it's for her. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. It's times like these that I kind of wish we had like an actual like video conferencing so I could see your guys' faces, even though you guys did send me the picture of you guys, the California crew. All right, Laura, thank you. Go Avalanche. Yes. And I'm hoping the rest of Paige, I'm hoping that you're on the same page as me. No pun intended, but I thought of you as far as the Avalanche goes. For whatever reason, I think maybe David and I know Paige's brother, and I think we used to watch the Avalanche a couple times together. Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you guys. Oh, who are our drivers? Okay, now we're getting into the nitty gritty, Ian. I mean, I have the answer to that. It's going to be Luis. Well, I'm sure you remember Luis from last time. Oh, there we go, Paige. Thank you. Paige is saying go Avs. All right. Thank you, Paige. Okay. Well, you guys are having too much fun. Okay, now Ian is asking as far as the marital status of our driver, and that's where I just draw the line, Ian. I'm going to draw the line right there because it's a little bit none of your business. But I don't even know, to be honest. I really haven't had that in-depth of a conversation with Luis, although I'm sure Blanca knows the answer to that question, but I do not. So thank you guys so much as far as taking the time to join up with me and for making it so it wasn't so isolating by participating via text and sending your pictures of your imbibing, as did the California group. Okay, last question. I did draw the line with Luis, Julie. With Ian, yes. Keep him under control, all right? All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And we'll be in touch as far as any questions you have or as you're going through any of the materials. Please, by all means, let me know. And last plug, if you're interested in practicing your Spanish before you get there, especially for those people that maybe had some high school Spanish way back when, but it's a little rusty. Blanca also does Skype lessons or she does, let's see here. I think she does Skype and WhatsApp, if you have either of those, and WhatsApp is a free app. So I want to say it's $140 for 10 hours. Ian's done them before. So I know he can attest to it. And it's a really good opportunity not only to get going with your Spanish ahead of time, but also to get to know Blanca and Her daughter Sori is also involved, and Sori is our official translator. So while no, our our host families don't speak English necessarily, and no, our collaborating teachers don't speak Spanish necessarily, Sori is also part of our team, and she's actually a translator. So she's going to be our official Spanish4Educators translator. And so especially for those people that have zero Spanish, then that would probably be a good idea. And it's really reasonable as far as the price goes. It's typically $15 an hour. So if you want to get just like, 4 hours or something like that and give it a shot, then it'd be that times 15. But if you get 10 together, then it's 14 an hour. So yeah, think about that. Oh yeah, when you got your t-shirts, I apologize that I had to get some of you guys a different size of t-shirt than you requested because we're getting a little bit low on the supply. So I apologize for that. But at the same token, I'm noticing my glasses are all crooked here, man. The main thing with the t-shirt is that if you could actually bring that along in your carry-on bag and wear it when you're exiting customs, and so that way our transportation people can, because it's kind of like a cluster. When you exit customs, there's like literally like 50 people waiting there with like signs and stuff like that. So we will have a sign for you, but that way our driver can more easily recognize you and who you are and that you're part of our group. So while I'm sorry, who was it, Angela, that I got you the wrong size, at the same time, now I have to see, you guys are taking so long that now I have to like turn on the light because it's getting dark. No, it's fine. But now it's all bright. Oof, that's a little bit too bright, man. So anyways, oh, okay. Ian's lying. Well, what's new? So yeah, and I'm hoping to we got a new logo, so I'm hoping to be able to get some new t-shirts made, maybe or maybe not by the time that we go to Guatemala. So we'll see on that. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm not taking any more questions from the California contingent. You guys are cut off, okay? Oh, okay. So D, I got your message as far as Tikal, but could you send me an email on that one? Because I'm most likely not going to check my text and I might forget. Not checking any of the California texts. Okay, Paige has a question. And Julie is like texting ja 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 like they do in Spanish. Instead of like LOL, they do JAJAJA. Yeah, Julie, you better be sorry for your friends over there. Paige's question: do you get a gift for the host family or the mother, the father, the kids? Depending on who you have in your family, which could be grown kids all the way to grandkids, to there's people that are helpers that are living there or that are helping out there. But typically it's okay to just get a gift for La Señora. So in Guatemalan society, it is kind of in a way, it's a matriarchal society as far as the woman is the one that's kind of running the house. And so since you are staying at their house, it is most customary to be able to get something for the woman of the house. So good question, Paige. And then I think that's it. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and looking forward to July. And go Avs and go Nuggets, not the Warriors. All right. Bye, guys.